The most powerful woman in the room is almost never the one reacting. She's the one who heard the exact comment that made everyone else gasp, and she didn't even blink. We've been taught that feeling things deeply makes us too sensitive, that staying calm means you're cold or fake or that you just don't care. But there's a specific kind of woman who feels everything and still doesn't flinch. I call it emotional sovereignty. It's what happens when your inner world gets so steady that other people lose the ability to move you with a text, a tone, or a look. And when you have it, people stop testing you and they start studying you. Welcome back to the Muse Manual, where we become the muse of our own lives. Today we're dismantling the habit of reacting to every little thing for good, and we're replacing it with the quiet operating system that most magnetic women in the world run on. Because being unbothered was never a personality you're born with. It's a skill, one of the most studied skills in all of psychology. Let me be real with you for a second. A while back, I got one text, a single dry one-word reply, and it ruined my entire day. I read it back probably 20 times. I typed out 3 different responses and deleted every single one. I let one notification decide my whole mood, and by the time I realized how much energy I'd handed over to it, the day was basically gone. Here's what was actually happening in my brain. The psychologist Daniel Goleman calls it an amygdala hijack. The moment your emotional brain floods the system and locks the rational part of you out of the room. Picture a smoke alarm that can't tell the difference between a house fire and a piece of burnt toast. It just screams either way. And our phones have us living inside of that alarm. Every notification gets treated like a fire. Every dry text feels like an attack. So understand this. The unbothered woman is not a woman who feels nothing. She's a woman who trained herself to wait just a few seconds for the rational brain to come back online and ask one question. Is this a fire or is this toast? Because almost every single time, it's toast. Here's the paradox that nobody talks about. Why is a luxury bag worth thousands? It's not the leather, the materials are a fraction of the price. You're paying for scarcity. The fact that you can't just walk in and grab one. Difficulty of access is the value. Your reactions work the exact same way. When you react to everything, every dig, every bit of bait in the group chat, and every comment under a post, your reactions become common. Anyone can pull one out of you. And the second that your attention is that easy to win, it stops meaning anything. Robert Greene writes about this all through his work on power. Restraint and a little distance create value, and constant availability makes you ordinary. Watch the way Sanaa Lathan plays Sydney in Brown Sugar. She spends the entire film guarding the one thing she truly feels. She stays composed. She keeps her cards close. She lets the man standing right in front of her sit in the unknown, and that restraint is the exact reason you can't look away from her. The reaction she withholds is the whole power move. And to be clear, because this gets twisted constantly, this is not about suppressing what you feel. It's about understanding that your reaction is a resource, and most people simply haven't earned it. There is an old idea running underneath all of this. Almost 2,000 years ago, the Stoic philosopher Epictetus said something that still holds up. We are not disturbed by what happens to us, but by the story we tell ourselves about it. Same event, 2 women. One reads a short reply and spirals for an hour about what she did wrong. The other reads the identical words, decides he's probably just busy, and goes on with her day. The message never changed, the interpretation did. This is what psychologists call an internal locus of control. Your stability comes from within you, not from what everyone else is doing. Think about Miranda Priestly and The Devil Wears Prada. The entire office tips into a panic the second she steps off the elevator, and she never raises her voice, not once. She delivers the most cutting line in the building at the exact volume she'd use to order a coffee. Everyone around her is the screaming smoke alarm. She's the one who already decided it is not a fire. That is a woman who owns the meaning of the moment. instead of letting the moment own her. Now let's talk about what you leave behind. People rarely remember your exact words. What they remember is how they felt in your presence. Psychologists call the mechanism emotional contagion. We catch each other's emotional feelings like a cold. Sit beside someone anxious and your shoulders climb toward your ears. Sit beside someone settled and you exhale without deciding to. So it's worth asking what you're actually transmitting. A woman in a constant state of reactivity walks in carrying weather, a storm system that follows her into every room and every group chat. People start managing her instead of enjoying her. But the woman with a steady frequency feels like a room with soft, even light. There's nothing flickering and nothing about to blow. Let's look at Vianne and Chocolat. She arrives in a town that has already decided to disapprove of her, and instead of fighting it or shrinking from it, she simply stays warm, calm, and entirely herself. She chases no one's approval. Slowly but surely, almost against their will, the whole town begins to orbit around her. They pulled in toward the person who is not performing. That is the imprint of emotional sovereignty, and you are leaving an imprint whether you mean to or not. The only question is whether you're choosing to or letting your nervous system choose for you. Here's the practical key that ties all of this together. Most of our overreacting comes from gripping the outcome too tightly. We need the reply. We need it now. We need it to say the right thing. So we refresh, we reread, we check if they watched the story. And when you need it that badly, every tiny signal feels enormous because everything is riding on it. So here's the discipline. Give the moment your full presence and then loosen your grip on what it gives back to you. Think about holding sand. Clamp down and it pours straight between your fingers. And then try to hold it with your hand open and it stays. So much of what we try to force into place, we lose through the force itself. The unbothered woman holds everything with an open hand, not because she doesn't care, but because she decided quietly and permanently that her peace is the one thing she will never put up for negotiation. At the end of the day, being unbothered was never about feeling less. You still feel everything. You've just stopped letting everything bother you. You build a gap, you treat your reaction like currency, you leave a steady imprint instead of a storm, and you hold your life with an open hand. If this resonated with you, hit subscribe and stay a while. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.